Echo, echo, echo. Anyone hear me? 3, 2, 1. Okay,
you have a really deep, guttural quality to your voice, eh?
Just booming.
Sexy.
Yeah.
1-900.
Like it's intense almost. It just...
Mm-hmm. Well, that's who I am.
There's times where you're finding clips that are learning clips, learners or so. And then there's times where, you got to make sure you're catching your team doing things properly too.
So Jay Woodcroft, with 3 days between games to start the season, what will the former video coach be doing to sharpen the group up after a shaky opening night? Let's discuss. Welcome to Got Your Back, YEG with Rishaug and Strudwick. Today on the show, Struds and I are going to dive into the Battle of Alberta that is on the horizon. The Flames, boy, did they ever look good last night, hey? Just took down the defending Stanley Cup champions, no big deal. How are the Oilers going to stack up? Well, we'll take a look. And Terry Ryan checks in from Pittsburgh. Did you see him at all last night on Twitter? Well, you got a chance to see Crosby and company lift the lid on their season. And he was hanging with the Spit and Chicklets crew, so that's always fun. We'll get his takeaway on the 35-year-old Crosby. Welcome to Mr. Dirk. Well, welcome to Got Your Back, brought to you by Mr. Dirk. I think we're taping a little early, fellas. I'm confusing the name of the show with our title sponsor. We're so happy to have Mr. Dirk as our title sponsor, the iconic men's clothing store here in Edmonton. It was founded back in 1939, and if you haven't had a chance to go check out the store, you absolutely have to go down there. Anything that you need in your wardrobe, anything you're short on, anything you want to improve, they have it for you. It's not just suits. It's not just tuxes and formals and customs. They've got a wide variety of casual clothes for you as well. Jeans and pants and shirts and sweaters and shoes. And then if you do need some stuff over on the formal side, well, they've got tons of that great quality stuff as well. We had Struds down there not too long ago, picked up a couple of items. I know he's looking forward to debuting those on television at some point here. Go see the crew down at Mr. Dirk. They're a one-stop shop for all your clothing needs, and we're so happy to have them on board as our title sponsors. We check in with Zuby and with Struddy. Struddy, have you had a chance to actually wear the new stuff yet?
I've wore the one jacket to a Broadway show. I love the Broadway shows at Jubilee, so I was looking good. I actually caused a bit of a distraction, a ruckus, if you will. How good
really?
I looked in the stands. So if they call it the stands, I guess they don't call it the stands at a Broadway show.
Gallery, I think it might be.
I was closer than that. Come on. It's a date night, buddy. I'm not sitting in the foyer.
So did people look at you like you had 3 heads when you showed up dressed properly?
Well, it's not being dressed properly. It's just adding to what is already existing.
No,
right?
it's finally dressing. It's finally dressing properly is what's happening.
Dressing. You have a beautiful room. You're just adding to it with a little added decor. So
Zuby,
you know what I'm talking. Zuby, you know what I'm talking about.
It sounds to me like he's still in denial, Zuby, over the overall problem.
Did they stop the show? Did any of the performers notice?
Didn't quite get to that. They're professional Zoobs. Just like us.
Right. Yes, exactly.
You know what I noticed about you while we were at Mr. Dirk? You really gravitated towards the comfortable stuff, hey? You like the stuff that kind of hugged you, made you feel like you were getting a little bit of a nice cozy hug in front of a fireplace.
Yeah, a hug from your grandma. Yeah, I don't love tight and restrictive. Like I like to move, I'm a creature. I'm like a panther in the night walking around. I want to make sure it can move a bit. Zuby and I live the same lifestyle, right? So we need to have that fluidity to our movement. That's what they won't be inhibited by our clothing.
I saw those skinny jeans though from last year, or was that an anomaly? That's why that made big news when it was all over the Twitter last week.
People, they don't understand. I did it the other day. I had a 2-hour practice and I had jeans on the whole time. And people, I don't know why people make a big deal. Okay. You're not sweating. You're not sweating out there.
It's just not okay, Struds.
Not playing men's league.
It's never going to be okay. It's never going to be okay.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Honestly, there's a lot of things I do even I question, but this is not even in my top 10.
Dresses like he's being hugged by his grandma. Yeah. By dressing like his grandfather all these years. But we're tightening him up. We're tightening him up. Thanks to Mr. Dirk. All right, Zuby, we'll check in with you in a little bit, but we're going to dig in here for the breakdown. See you, pal. The breakdown, of course, is brought to you by DLR Vinyl Products. High quality, maintenance-free fencing and decking. And it's not too late to look into it. The weather that we've had, boy, oh boy, knock in a quick fence. Why not? They got locations in Calgary and in Edmonton. Call my brother Rick here in Edmonton or Rob down in Calgary. This is our family business. So I've got lots of maintenance-free product in my backyard. And it's sensational because I put it in and then I didn't put it in. Who's kidding who? You don't have to think about it after that, Struddy. It goes in and that's it. You're done. There's no staining. There's no sanding. There's no worrying about it lasting. It's high quality, long-term product that just really makes a difference in your yard, really just tightens everything up, just makes it look really, really good. And like I say, little to no work is needed. So that's DLR Vinyl Products. And if you're a contractor out there, a fencing contractor, and you've never worked with vinyl and you want to give it a go, they've got a great installation system that makes it nice and easy for you. So try DLR Vinyl Products, locations in Calgary and in Edmonton. So the first Battle of Alberta is set to go tomorrow night. The Oilers and the Flames have both had an opportunity for their first salvo of the season, and I would submit to you, Struds, while the Oilers won their game, the Calgary Flames certainly got off to a much better start.
They sure did, but let's put some context into it. The Colorado Avalanche celebrated their Stanley Cup home opener the night previous. I'm guessing they got into Calgary pretty late, 2, 3, 4 in the morning, and they looked a little disjointed last night. They didn't look like themselves. But, that's not Calgary's fault. Calgary, they have to play the team that's in front of them. And they did come out and play well. And honestly, all the guys that are new to the team had some impact in the game. And it's hard when you go to a new team and you think of Weegar and Huberdeau and Kadri all signing these massive contracts. Like between the three of them, it's got to be close to $200 million between the three of them, if not exceeding that. So there'd been a lot of pressure on them just to launch their season off correctly, Shogger.
So you talk about the Avalanche and their tough schedule. By the way, how about no respect for the defending Cup champions? Back-to-back nights in different cities, and they know the one night's going to be a big celebration. To your point, the chances were 13-2 Calgary in the first period. High danger chances were 6-1 Calgary in the first period. And Colorado did a good job kind of finding their legs and getting back into it. I had a chance to watch a good portion of that game. You talk about the performances from the new members of the Calgary Flames. Mackenzie Weegar was probably the least heralded of the three big additions that they made, but the impact that he has the chance to have on this Flames group is it's tough to be measured, Struds. I thought he was really good in that game. There's a swagger in his game, a confidence in his game. He's not afraid to take it and go. He makes plays. He picked up, I believe he picked up an assist. 2 assists he picked up last night. Played 20 minutes and 43 seconds. For anybody who's looking at the Battle of Alberta that was happening in the playoffs and then looking at what's going to happen tomorrow night, this is a whole different kettle of fish in terms of the D that Calgary's bringing because their main guys are healthy and there's a new kid on the block. Well,
let's go back to the playoffs last year. Tanev, he either didn't play or when he did play, he had one arm. He was so limited. It was unbelievable. I respect that he played, but he probably shouldn't have. He was so limited. Yeah. So you add him into that playoff series for a full 7. Does it look different? Now you double down and Weegar in. And what does that look like in the back end? So you can have one of those two guys on the ice all the time. I'm in the playoff series. I'm guessing they'd always be on, one of them be on the ice all the time. Now, to be fair, you did lose, a couple players to make this happen. But there's no depth there. No doubt their depth is a lot stronger, and it's going to be tougher. It's going to be tougher for the Oilers to kind of do what they want in the offensive zone, and they're going to have to be very determined. I don't think that those easy plays will be there as much as we saw in the playoffs. They're going to be a determined group to kind of get to and get at Markstrom. So I'm guessing Markstrom will play, even though he was a little bit unwell.
Yeah. Nazem Kadri. So, I remember watching him in the Stanley Cup final last year, and I was there, and he was doing what he could. He was very, very limited. But I watched him in that game last night. You know what I thought, Struds? I thought, for a guy who came into the league with the idea being wasn't a great skater, but crazy creativity and great hands, he plays the game fast. For a guy that isn't a great skater, he plays the game fast. He makes plays fast. His feet keep moving. I thought he showed a great energy level in last night's game. I thought he showed lots of creativity. It was an excellent debut for him. But I wondered if adding a player like Kadri maybe slows things down a little bit. I liked his intensity and I liked the speed with which he played the game. And there is an edge and an attitude in his game when you subtract a guy like Matthew Tkachuk, you lose something. But boy, they really did a nice job picking the right guy to inject that same element right back into their lineup. And the combination of that skill and that bit of swagger, that's really meaningful for a team that wants to contend.
Well, first off, how crazy that you win a Stanley Cup with Colorado last year. You signed a new team, and then you play your old team the
right
first
away.
game of the year. Like
he got his ring after the game too last night. Hey,
crazy, man. That is absolutely mind blowing that what's happening. Yeah. But anyways, now it's over. I guess if to be honest, it's over now. He's played his old team again, and he's back at it. But you're right. What I like about Kadri is that he is faster than people think, but he does bring an edge down the middle of the ice that maybe they didn't have in Calgary. They had some on the wing with Tkachuk, but down the middle now he brings that edge. And whether it's Backlund or whether Lindholm, whoever else they have, Rooney up down the middle, he does bring that, and he brings skill and an edge, and he is unpredictable at times. I think of accidentally falling into some goalies at times, and even last night.
What are you talking about?
Goalie.
What are you saying?
It gets you going. It gets you fired up, right? So I listen. It was a good signing for the Flames, but make no mistake, this is a tougher team for the Oilers to play against this year than it was last year. The worst part about it for the Oilers, and I guess Oilers fans, is only get to see it 3 times this year, Shogger.
Yeah, it's a travesty that we only see 3 battles of Alberta this year, because these are going to be the cream of the division, and it's going to be a real interesting race for them. 17 minutes and 43 seconds for Kadri. Didn't have any shots, had a couple of attempts blocked, but was 53% in the face-off circle, had an assist, and I thought at times looked really creative in that game. So if you're the Edmonton Oilers, you take the 2 points happily, and you high-five each other because of the way the special teams battle went. But it feels like there would have been a lot on the to-do list for Jay Woodcroft coming out of that game. Yesterday, so they have the benefit here, Struds, of a number of days between games. And this is where Woodcroft and company can dive into the video and figure out the things they dislike the most. They'll attack it today at practice. We're going to go to the Weiss Johnson soundbox here and listen to what Jay Woodcroft had to say about their video strategy and kind of what they want to do. We'll remind you, it's a great time of year to look into a furnace for the garage. Winter's coming. And if you want the family to be getting in and out of a nice toasty warm car, give Weiss Johnson a shout, 463-3096. And a reminder, it's their 45th anniversary. And for the next 3 months, they're going to be giving away a free, including installation, new furnace or hot water tank to a community organization or a charity that's in need. I love this thing that they're doing. So if you know a community organization or a charity that's in need, you can email them at info@weiss-johnson.com. That's info@weiss-johnson.com. They're also looking to replace the oldest furnace in Edmonton. So if you've just got a beast that's just clugging away in your basement, take a picture, send some info to info@weiss-johnson.com, and they're going to be doing some good in the community and helping somebody out.
Weiss Johnson, whoa.
My goal is to get the jingle in once a podcast, because it's like nostalgic for me. It feels like it's been around forever, Struddy.
Yeah, it is. It's a classic. I love it. And that's really cool. I'd love to see these pictures, though, of the old furnaces.
Oh, I know. We'll have Dennis on sometime, because he's a huge hockey fan. He loves talking hockey. But I also want to ask him who came up with that jingle. Like, he doesn't seem like a very musical fella to me. Yeah. I'm not sure it was Dennis, but anyways, to the Weiss Johnson soundbox, the idea of video from Jay Woodcroft and how you approach it after a game like that.
There's times where you're finding clips that are learning clips, learners or so. And then there's times where, you got to make sure you're catching your team doing things properly too, and catching them doing it right. So you have the learning clips on the one side and the confirming clips on the other. Learners and confirmers.
Learners and confirmers. Struddy, through the course of your career, do you think you showed up in more learning or more confirming clips?
I didn't even know you could have confirming clips. I didn't know that was allowed. I didn't know a coach could
positive
speak.
Reinforcement.
Yeah, I didn't know a coach could speak in a normal tone. I thought they just only yelled. So no, I didn't know there was confirmers. I don't remember seeing a lot of confirmers. And when he says learners, just so everyone knows what it means is that it means when people are doing things wrong. They're like, Jason, you're in the wrong place. You're not doing this right. You're not working hard enough. Yes. So he can call it anything he wants, but there is nothing worse when you see a clip and they just cue it up and you're like, oh my God, I know this is me. I know this is me. And everyone in the room's like looking over at you. They're thinking, thank God it's not me. I'm glad it's you.
Can you kind of like, I imagine after a loss, you're supposed to be a little more serious in there. But is there chirps that happen during a video session? Like if somebody just brutal,
Yeah.
like Struddy, you had all kinds of time. You went off the glass and iced it. Like, what are you doing, man? Make a pass. Like, are there chirps exchanged during video sessions, or is it all business?
You know what? It depends on the tone. You know, like if you're 4 or 5 game losing streak and the coach drags out the video, that's not time for Johnny Good Times. But if something crazy happens, like I remember one time, Pat Quinn, who loved the video, he went through a video session. And he goes, "I've never seen this in all my years," and it was a video of Sheldon Surrey going out to block a shot, and he puts his hand over top of his nuts to cover his nuts. That's what he did. And it not his face, nothing but his nuts.
He's got a jock on.
Honestly, it was the funniest thing. Like, first off, for Pat Quinn to see that and then acknowledge it, I don't know, maybe the assistant coach saw it, and then for him to show the team. And we went on there, and it was a good moment. Like, it brought energy to the group, right?
That's awesome.
But yeah, they're not fun. Like, it's not enjoyable. But to be fair, a lot of guys learn in different ways. I know for me, you can tell me what to do and I'll just go and do it. And then some will, then some are like, well, we need you to be here, and you're not there. And they say, well, I am there. Like, no, you're not. And so they show you. Yeah. And I think the video is good in that. But don't let Jay fool you. Learners is not fun. This isn't enjoyable. Hey, let's go have a learning session of video.
Learning experience. Hey, we're all going to grow together with these learners. So let me ask you this. How often would Leon Draisaitl or Connor McDavid show up in the learners category? As a coach, do you have to make a point of making sure you put some clips of them in so it doesn't feel like they're getting special treatment? Or do you stay away from that because they are who they are and they do what they do? And if they make mistakes, they know, and they're carrying such a big part of the load. Should they be made a regular part of the learners?
Well, it depends. I mean, if they make let's say Draisaitl's doing a backhand sauce across the middle, gets picked off, and the other team scores. You know what? You're going to live and die with that. Like, he's going to 9 to 10 of those are going to be sick plays. But if it's
does it show up in video though? You know what I mean? Because he knows.
So you don't need to do that because he knows. But if let's say it's a lack of effort, and I'm not suggesting that that's what they have, but let's say it's a lack of effort in the back check, and it's continue over and over and over again, then you show the video because the players know. The players know you're watching. You're like, this guy's not trying hard. Why is he yelling at me? It doesn't make sense. So yes, if it's a one-off mistake, I don't believe that really needs to be identified by a coach. But it's when an ongoing problem
pattern.
I don't care. Yeah, pattern. I don't care if it's your top guy right down to your bottom guy. An ongoing problem they have to be corrected. That's just the way it is. So
sorry, finish.
No, that's it. No, that's it. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. So you have the ability to go in and sit with an assistant coach and look at individual clips as well. And maybe that's where some of the tougher stuff might come out more in a one-on-one setting. But if they bring something like that out in front of the group, something that's obvious, something that is a mistake, something that could have been handled in a one-on-one meeting, I imagine there's some message sending that can happen in these video sessions as well.
Well, what you're trying to do is you're not going to just pick on one guy. For instance, Dylan Holloway throws the pizza up the middle the other night. All right. He knows it's a mistake. Everyone knows it's a mistake. Do you really need to talk about that? But let's say that the Oilers had 5 or 6 players throw grapefruits up the middle. Now that's a problem. And it's good for the whole group to see it. Like, you're not going to just have a video session showing a D-man, like picking out Jason Strudwick's bad gap. Like, that doesn't make sense. Now, if all the D-men are having trouble with their bad gap, then you're showing it. You're trying to catch as many people as possible in it. So I find it to be more systematic. How you're forechecking, how you're back checking, your D-zone coverage. Like, it's more the group rather than picking on the individual. If you are going after individual Rishaug, you are really trying to make a mess. Then yes, you are trying to make a message. But I remember one time I was playing for Vancouver, and we were playing the Islanders, and it got a little rough, and Rich Pilon ran our guy, and I just dove on him. He fell down, I dove on him and kind of gave him a bunch of punches. I got 2-minute penalty. So I get off, and Mark Crawford's losing his mind. So the next day he goes through a video, and then at the end he shows me, he's like, why would you do this? And Donald Brashear stood up. He's like, you know what? He's protecting our guys. And Crawford's like, that's wrong. He took a penalty. Brash said, don't take this away from him. And he sat down, and that was the end of the video.
Really?
End of the session.
Donald Brashear stuck up for you that way.
And I appreciate, like, I knew it wasn't the best play, but it happened. So I think he was, I still don't know if he was trying to tell me it was okay without, by saying it wasn't okay. Like, I'm not smart enough to figure that out. But anyways, generally in video, you're trying to catch as many people as you can, maybe swinging by pucks or shooting and missing the net on that, or not being physical or whatever. Like, again, you're trying to get to as many people as you can. It won't be an individual session saying Jason Strudwick cannot pass the puck, which we know to not be true.
Right. You're talking about pizzas and grapefruits. So I was thinking that's like your breakfast versus my breakfast this morning, I think.
Buddy, you can't throw a pizza if you go off the glass.
Yeah, that's true, actually. It's a pretty safe play. Worst case, it's an icing, right?
That's right. Worst case, you get an icing and used to be able to change. It was great. Go sit up, light your dart up on the bench. And there's someone else's problem. You guys, I iced it down. They put out their top line. You guys figure it out.
My job's done. That's awesome. Hey, last thing here before we get to TR, because he's sitting in the lobby of our chat group here, and I bet he's just losing his marbles, frustrated and twitching, waiting to be part of the conversation. So Evander Kane makes the pass to Connor McDavid at the end of the game the other night and gives Connor the hat trick. Evander Kane's sitting at 0 goals. Connor made a really interesting comment after the game about how, listen, it's not nice to be at 0 goals. So for him to have done that, he stays at 0. I just think he appreciated it, I think. And so Evander Kane was asked about it by the media as we go back to the Weiss Johnson soundbox. Oh, I forgot to label my clips, so I'm not sure if I'm hitting the right one. But Evander Kane talking about that play that he made.
You recognize the situation in the game, who's out there, and I figured he's a pretty good player, so if I put it in the vicinity, he'll put it in. So nice to see him score a hat trick.
What did he say to you after?
Everything you'd expect.
Even a little bit surprised to be receiving the puck in that moment, too.
Yeah, I like to keep him on his toes, I guess.
You think he'll have a pass for you at some point this season you might be able to score with?
I don't know. The type of player he is, probably not. Yeah, I'm sure he will.
So Kane goofing a little bit with the media. This might seem like no big deal in a play that we've seen 1,000 times. You always pass to the guy in the empty net that's got the 2 goals for the hat trick. The fact that this was Evander Kane, the fact that it was to Connor McDavid, the fact that Kane was at 0 goals and still stays at 0 goals, I think this one had a little bit more meaning behind it, and I think was a really good look for Evander Kane, Struddy.
Yeah, well, first off, let's not get too dramatic with the 0 goals. It's one game. It's not like he's 10 games in, Rishaug, or 20 games he's got.
But Struddy,
goals.
I mean, you must have gone 15, 20, 25 games at 0. So your threshold is a little different than Evander Kane's might be. This is what he's supposed to do.
If that's me, I don't even look at Connor. I'm shooting. I don't care if I'm even behind Connor. There's no chance I'm even thinking about it. And I don't think Connor expects me to pass it. Like, let's be honest. But it's Evander Kane here. The guy has scored like 40 goals. He's probably going to score 40 goals this year. He's going to get his cookies. But the bigger story is that he understands that you have to feed the big guy. And the big guy has 2 goals, you turn around, you slide it back to him. You're like, here, big guy, here you go. Because you know what? Connor's going to probably give you 10 tap-ins that are going to be this year. So that to me says right away, like, they're all on the same page. They're playing for each other. But, like, let's not feel sorry for Evander Kane. It's one game in. One game, and you're acting like it's 20.
Did I give you the impression that I feel so? I'm just saying, like, for everybody, you're stuck on 0 to start the game, start the season. And the chance to get your first, I mean, you think the instinct to be there to just bury the thing.
It's not his first NHL game. He hasn't 20 games in. He hasn't been snake bitten. Like, come on, man. Like, you're overthinking that part too much.
Really?
The conversation isn't about him getting his first goal. It's about the fact that he looked to pass it to someone else who had 2 goals in the game. And it's Connor McDavid. So I don't know. I heard,
who disagrees with you? Me. Who? And Connor McDavid, because Connor McDavid is the one who pointed out it's not nice to be stuck on 0.
Yeah.
And
he's played 20 minutes. There's no way. I disagree with Connor McDavid. I completely disagree. Okay. And Connor's always deflecting. He's always deflecting everyone else. Oh, this is great. This is great. And that's what you
answering.
Do.
By the way, on that note, and we'll agree to disagree. You can agree to disagree with me and Connor McDavid if you want, Struddy. I'll go.
I'm right.
I do have to say, just as a side note, I've noticed Connor McDavid has been a lot more outgoing and talkative in his media scrums. And this has been a topic over the last few years. At times he seems like he's not loving doing it and doesn't say a lot. I've noticed a massive difference in McDavid so far this year. He's engaged. He's thinking about his answers. He is more engaged, I would say. It really feels to me like he's putting in some effort into this. We're back in the locker room now, so it's a bit of a different environment as well. But I've noticed that McDavid has been really, really strong in his media availabilities this year. And we cover everything McDavid does. That's one of them, so I thought it was worth mentioning. Okay, that was the breakdown brought to you by DLR Vinyl Products. Terry Ryan was on a roadie to Pittsburgh with the Spit and Chicklets crew yesterday, and lots of mayhem happening at that game. We'll check in on TR and get his takeaway about the 35-year-old Sidney Crosby coming up here. Checking in with Sterling Dirk inside the beautiful Mr. Dirk shop. People ask me all the time, who is the Mr. Dirk, Sterling? I know it's not you. Who's the original?
So my grandfather was a tailor, and he came over to Canada in 1940s, opened his freestanding shop in 1965. So Mr. Dirk's an ode to my grandfather. He was a tailor, and we keep that ethos of like quality service and community embedded in our store every day. So if you come in, you walk in, you're gonna get a friendly face, a smile, and we're gonna get you suited up, head to toe, get you some jeans, shoes, whatever you need. We got you covered.
1939 is on the emblem, and it means something. Truly local. MrDirk.com is where you can see all of their merchandise, or visit them in store right off White Avenue and 102nd Street. Hey, Struddy, question for you. Have you ever tried putting in your own fence?
I sure have. Between digging the posts, mixing up cement and digging the holes, it's absolute killer.
It's brutal on the back. Well, listen, what if I told you you could put in a fence without having to dig a hole or mix any concrete?
I'd be much more likely to come over and help you out.
Yeah, well, you're not the first guy I would call, but thank you for that. Listen, my brother's company, DLR Vinyl Products, they've come up with a system where you can actually put high-quality vinyl fence in the ground without having to dig a hole, without having to mix any concrete. They can teach do-it-yourselfers how to do it, and they can also work with contractors who might be looking to start installing vinyl. It's super high-quality product. The great thing about it is that it has fantastic longevity. You put it in, you don't have to worry about staining or sanding or anything like that. I've been lucky enough, Struddy. They've put in multiple fences in my different yards, and they've built me 3 decks. I have totally abused the fact that my family is in the fencing and decking business, but it's great product. Give Rob a call in Calgary or Rick a call here in Edmonton. This is a company my dad started. It's a family business. I'm super proud of it. That's DLR Vinyl Products in Edmonton and Calgary. All right, time now for TR's Takeaways, brought to you by Sherwood Buick GMC. Yes, the gigantic dealership just off Baseline Road on the way into Sherwood Park. Talk about a big, beautiful showroom. Was in there a couple of weeks ago. Unreal. It's like they polished the floors and the walls in there. That's what you do at the number one GMC dealership in all of Canada, though. 5 years in a row, that has been their title. And it's easy to see. I bought a vehicle there not too long ago, and I can't tell you enough just how accommodating and simple the process is. They don't do that thing where they tell you, okay, just wait, and then I got to go talk to the other person, and then they spend 40 minutes in the room, and you're sitting there on your phone until they come back to the desk and say, I talked to this person, and it doesn't happen that same way at Sherwood Buick GMC. They've streamlined the process. It's really friendly. They got great staff. They've even got bottles of water for you. They have a cooler that has bottles of water that are nice and cold. They've got good coffee, all of the things that you want while you're sitting there stressing, trying to figure out, should I do this or not? They make it nice and easy for you over at Sherwood Buick GMC. Terry Ryan in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Looked like quite the night, you and the Spit and Chicklets crew, my friend.
It was a great time, I got to be honest. I'm here for another night. We're doing a live show today, but yesterday was nothing short of mesmerizing. It was my first time seeing Sidney Crosby live.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. He's an amazing player. And, pretty amazing when I find, TR, is that he, Malkin, and Letang, this is their 17th season together. Like, it's uncommon, and it's crazy. I don't think it's ever happened before in hockey.
It's so amazing. And not only that, what really impressed me, look, I can go into what I saw on the ice all day, but what really impressed me, At the end of the game, we go down, and those guys used to play in Pittsburgh, a while back now, but they did, the guys I was with. So we kind of, we went down, we just walked in the back door, we had a box. We kind of had our run of the place, but we waited. We went into the dressing room an hour and a half after the game, and there was only 2 players left. It was Malkin and Crosby. And Crosby still had his gear on. He was his workout stuff on. He was stretching. He was still putting time in. That was really impressive to me. I mean, we're an hour and a half after. There was nobody else left whatsoever, and he's still in his underwear.
I can only imagine the places you were an hour and a half after your games, TR. Like I can only imagine how fast you got wherever you were going.
Well, it was always, I like to get to the rink early. So if there was a game, I'd get there at 2:00, even if I wasn't playing. And that was more of a nerves thing. It was to curb my anxiety. But I also doubled. I would be like, I love hockey so much. So I did spend a lot of time at the rink. I think maybe people thought that I was just channeling my inner workout self, but it wasn't the case. I used my time at the rink, but I got out of there after the game. And to see a legend like that, I mean, not only Hall of Famer, he's one of the best players ever. And to see him this far into his career, still in there and taping, he loves the game. It said so much to me. Yeah. I know you put the time in, you get a result, but it also showed me a boy that's grown into a man that just loves hockey,
So take it to the ice here. What's your takeaway of Sidney Crosby's game as it exists right now at 35 years of age?
Well, I don't know if I mentioned it on here, but I put a lot of chips in him this year. I got him in every hockey pool. I've been a big Crosby supporter my whole life.
He appreciates it.
Well, not that. I'm just saying a lot of people, I mean, I don't know. You guys do TSN. Was he in the TSN top 10? Right? I don't know. I still think he's one of the best players in the world. I think you could argue if he plays every game. I think you could really make an argument that he still is the best. I'll go that far because he plays two-way. I'm not saying that the other guys don't. But I really think you could. I think we were too quick to pass the torch. I'm not saying that McDavid isn't, okay, for everybody listening in Edmonton, or that Matthews isn't the best scorer. Or even, I'm just saying Sidney Crosby is still doing it, and we kind of forget that how he turned it on last year. I'm a big fan. Look, I look at the game. He's really strong in his skates. I knew I would see that, okay? But really, I can see him thinking. McDavid is so fast. Again, we're comparing the best, right? McDavid's so fast that it's blistering speed, and he'll do something. It'll be like, wow, how did he see that? Whereas Crosby, you can almost see him thinking, and he doesn't seem to ever make a bad play. I mean, I watch a lot of Matthews of the three, if we're going to talk the best three, and Matthews is different again. He kind of sometimes look like he's lumbering around, but he's a big guy and he's looking for that shot. 3 great players and 3 completely different takes. And it was mesmerizing last night to watch Crosby at this age still dominate. He scored 2 minutes into the game.
You know what I love about Sid is how strong he is on the puck below the goal line. And he just loves to grind it around back there. And, that's pretty unique for a top player, I think. I think back a guy like Forsberg, maybe, TR, they would play like that.
That's a great comparison. Forsberg, honestly, is one of the most impressive players that I've ever seen with my own eyes. Because the other stuff I expected, I go back to Eric Lindros, and I still say people we're kind of quick to forget that too, how big he came in 91 and played in the Canada Cup after never playing in the NHL, mowing people down. That was a different player that we saw, right? We saw different. Well, these players, they have a greatness about them. And Crosby, you can still see that. It's still on display. What's he, 36 years old, right? And clearly works really hard at it. You lose some timing and strength, but he doesn't seem to have fallen off yet.
Yeah, the thing about Crosby, too, for me, and I think of it a little bit more from a media perspective, because for years I've been interviewing Sidney Crosby, and I interviewed him after he scored the golden goal in Vancouver. I've interviewed him in his stall countless times. Then you watch him play on the ice. So when he sits in his stall and when he does media, he's classy, he's engaged, he's understated, he's matter of fact, but he conducts himself just like this gentleman. And then he gets out on the ice and he is so fiery and he is so competitive, and I think he's pretty chirpy. And there's this way he goes about his business on the ice, Struds, that I think is it's such a polar opposite to what he presents when he sits there and does media. And I think that's a big part of what's made him so phenomenal is his ability to just turn it on when he gets out on the ice.
Yeah, I remember when he came into the league, and I don't remember anyone attacking a D-man like that. Like he literally attacks you. And he skated around me one time, like I was standing still, and I was like, "Okay, that's good. Thank you, Sid. I think that's enough. I'll go back and play against the third or fourth liners."
Blame the coach. Shouldn't have been out
there. I called my own number. I'm like, I'm out. But he was so fast, and he attacks guys. And I remember when he came in the league, he would be quite whiny towards the referee and always complaining about this and that. And then that went away. That I thought, and at some point he went away. Even the improvement on the face-offs, like he is just so meticulous in his preparation. And I agree with TR. He's one of the greatest players of all time. Top 5 might be a little high just because of like we're talking about the greatest, but he is right up there in my top, 7, 8, somewhere in there.
I put him 5th.
Man, is he? I just remember
it was him or Rocket Richard in my book. No offense.
You have him which? You have him what?
I put him at 5th. I put a little blurb in my last book about, I believe I put him 5th ahead of Rocket Richard. I mean, this is all subjective stuff, but I mean, he's one of the best players ever. You know what? You guys played in the Western League. I'm going to give you a name. When you said Forsberg, the people know Peter Forsberg, but what mesmerized me was his strength down low in the corner. On a relatively smaller level, Richard Zednik. Remember him? How strong he was on his skates? He had big python legs. It was tough down in the corner to get the puck from him, but he was the best I saw in his skates in that division that we played in the West.
So I was at Portland's training camp. I think it was his rookie year. It was the first time he had come over. If I'm remembering this correct, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it was Richard Zednik. I remember now. And he came in, and TR, he was so low. He was he had this stance. He just kind of prowled around so low, and he was so strong. And we remember seeing this guy in training camp thinking, oh my God, what a freak. Like just how strong he looked to be out there.
I changed my opinion of tough players when I saw Forsberg and Zednik, because to me, tough was always, can he drop his gloves? If the measure of how tough somebody was this, and playing those guys, I'm like, they're going in the corner with those guys. You better be ready.
Zednik played 745 career NHL games, 200 goals, so carved out a real legit career for himself. T, I love how you take us on these journeys through the history of the Western Hockey League each episode. It's Struddy, it's kind of nostalgic, hey?
It is. No, I love it. I love the TR. It's part of the fabric of the Western League.
Well, if you guys think about it, right? If you think about it, just think about my career and how it went. I mean, I've been playing senior hockey I wanted to keep going, but I was done pro at 24, I think 23 or 24. So those are, in my mind, that really stands out. And when I see these players, I can only compare them to the best that I've played against. And, in the AHL, I played against a lot of great ones, but you're playing in Ginla was on your team. He was in my division. Like, these are Hall of Fame guys. So I remember Richard Zednik like you would remember Forsberg, it really stands out.
So the headline in the promo today is going to be Terry Ryan compares Sidney Crosby to Richard Zednik. That's going out on Twitter really for the world to see. Hey, I do have to ask you, I got to ask you about the mayhem too, because I saw you in the Spit and Chicklets box and Bissonnette in the middle of this. So they're in the commercial break and the in-house host goes and interviews Paul Bissonnette at the commercial break, and it's in the loudspeaker in the building. TR, you can take us through what happened, but Bissonnette starts chirping at Sidney Crosby over the loudspeaker during the commercial break. I couldn't believe it.
First of all, I'm only realizing now because some people was that broadcast or something? How did you know that happened? I thought it was
somebody tweeted out a video from inside.
So guys, these guys, I mean, it's like they run the world. We just walked in, first of all. I didn't have a ticket to the game first or last. We just walked in the back door. Now, again, a few of them played there, but way back when it was Mellon Arena, it wasn't a lot of the same people. But, I mean, they're the Chicklets guys. So we go in, we go up to the booth, and we knew they were coming over to do a little blurb with Witter and Biz, but Biz grabbed the mic. And I thought about it, and he starts calling out Crosby. Now, we didn't know that was going to happen. I don't think anybody did other than Biz. And all of a sudden, there's a bit of a silence, and the noise meter was on, and then it goes off, and he's talking to the captain and you can see Sid laughing. There's communication between one guy with a microphone. Remember the movie Sudden Death, Jean-Claude Van Damme?
Yeah.
Terrible. If that had happened in the movie, that someone just grabbed the mic and was talking to the captain of the team, it would jump the shark right there. You would never believe it. You'd say, this movie sucks. 2% on Rotten Tomatoes, right off the bat, just because that happened. And we were watching it. We were watching a guy with a microphone in a crowd of 20,000 people talk to the captain, one of the greatest players ever.
And did you go play the bubble hockey in between periods?
Oh, yeah, man. I didn't want to. No one told me that was coming. We went out there, and it was just, that was so surreal, getting out there again. So, how long has it? Well, it was one thing. Yeah, it didn't really hurt. I remember seeing it at the exhibition game. That's the first time I ever saw it when I was with you. But we went out there. It was just a really weird feeling, guys, because you look up and there's 20,000 people and you remember what that feels like, but you're in this bubble thing, like looking like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, feeling like 400 pounds. Like I felt like an oaf, and I'm looking around. But I was like, oh, this is cool. I remember this feeling. I skated around.
I've really made it.
Yeah.
I've really made it.
It was almost, what's the word? Not bittersweet, but it was surreal in a really intriguing way.
Yeah. Struddy, you ever been in those bubbles?
I know, I've seen them. I think they're hilarious. I love seeing those ones.
Yeah.
Well, there's a knack to it too, and you don't know that going out there, right? Like,
what's the trick to it?
Well, it's just the perception. So it's a small little ball, and it looks like you can get, it just looks like you can kick it, and you have no room and you get knocked over. Right? That's the point. So I went out on the defensive. You knew that was going to happen.
I feel like it would just hurt my back. That's what I always think when I see that. I'm like, oh, getting all snapped around like that just feels like lower back issues all day long.
Yeah, it feels like that, but no, it's totally. I thought so too. I said at some point, but I mean, they must do their homework or there'd be lawsuits, right, in this day and age.
Nice.
Yeah, but I think you're not supposed to go in those things if you have gout. I believe it's a significant risk of gout. So
thanks for your concern, Struds.
Yeah, it's embarrassing more than anything. You don't feel comfortable. It's a bit of fun.
Yeah, nice. Well, glad you had a good time with the fellas. Look forward to the content. Great stuff today, guys. Thank you so much. We're going to wrap the podcast there. Can't get much better than bubble hockey with TR in his takeaways. Big thanks to all of our sponsors here on Got Your Back YEG. Of course, our title sponsor is Mr. Dirk. DLR Vinyl Products, Sherwood Buick GMC, and of course... Weiss Johnson. Whoa. Well, Battle of Alberta set to go on Saturday night. We'll break it down for you after it's all said and done. A couple more podcasts scheduled for next week. So thanks again for your downloads and your subscriptions, folks. Really appreciate it. Check us out on YouTube, by the way. This whole thing is on video as well, and we'll have some pictures and from sights and sounds from TR's wonderful adventure down to Pittsburgh. So check out our Got Your Back YouTube page as well. And we are available on all your podcast platforms. So thanks for coming along on this ride with us, and we will chat with you next week. Cheers.